Well, hello. Ian from RTO. How are we all? Hope we're all well. Well, what a day we've had here in Northampton today. We've had every season you can think of today. We've had snow. We've had hail. We've had sunshine, and we've had rain. It's not actually 8 o'clock yet, so I'm just going to chat away amongst myself. See if anyone comes in. One person is. Is that you, Dave? Have you managed to connect with the world? Or was that someone else? Oh, hello, Alan. I was waiting for Dave. He's had a few problems with the internet in Ireland. I've spoken to him about half an hour ago. He said he was going to try and see if he can get on. Have you had a good week, Alan? I've not had the best of weeks, as you know. I had a sore throat. Well, I had an ulcer. So tonight's drink is lemon juice, water and honey. Just to keep my throat going. Okay, well, it is now 8 o'clock. So I'm going to start. Well, what have I got for you tonight? I've got the usual what you've been watching, what you're going to be watching, and got an album. We've got a gig review. I went to a gig last Saturday, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. I've got some quotes of the week by people, some of the daftest quotes that have been put on, and I'll just... Hello, Mick. Did you get what I was saying about going an hour forward, because we've changed the clocks here? How is my throat now? Well, I'm not slurring my words. I can eat properly now. I've gone off soothe. I'm now on soft foods. I can't wait to get into a piece of meat though. I've been on soft, but it's a lot better. Honey, I've been using mixtures of honey, salt water, and bicarb of soda. Don't need any pills for it. Right. I haven't seen Dave yet. Now, I was telling to Mick, I was saying to Alan, Dave, where Dave lives, he's working on the internet, and he doesn't know he's going to try and get on. So if he doesn't get on, he just send his apologies. So there'll be no stat man this week if he doesn't come on, but I'm sure if he gets on, he will. So what have you been watching? Well, in the last 7 days, we've had 1,763 people watch, 7 new subscribers. So if you're a new subscriber watching tonight, welcome, or you're watching it afterwards, welcome to the channel. Come and join in this madness that we have on a Thursday night. So what are the top ones this week? Well, number 3 this week is Def Leppard's new album details with 84 views. Coming in second this week is the album review of Marillion's An Hour Before It's Dark at 88. But coming straight in at number 1 from Tuesday, Kate Bush is album rankings at 125. Straight into the charts, as they say. Over the last 28 days, we got 6,997, which included 25 new subscribers. What you've been watching, Status Quo's album rankings crept back into number 3 at 166. Bay City Rollers is still there at 191. And number 1 again for the second week is Def Leppard, new details 413. So, right, I've got something here for you, Rocky. There you go. Keep him quiet for 5 seconds. So there's the stats all so far since the 14th of May. We're now up to 71,725 views. Top 3, we've had a changeover. The Sojana Sleeping's dropped down to 3 with 3,290. Number 2 now is the Jethro Tull albums at 3,200. Yeah, I enjoy doing that one, Alan. And Status Quo, 5,161. So that's what we've been watching. So what we're going to be watching doing next week? Well, Monday we are going obscure. This week we are doing a little bit of obscure stuff. So Monday we're doing a bit of prog, a bit of Dutch prog, for a band called Sky Architect. If you've never heard of them, they are really, really good modern day prog, pretty good band. Their album work is done by a certain Mark Wilkinson. So that's how I got to find them out, because I did that show on album artwork for Mark Wilkinson. Classic album next week is quite... What are the stats like on the Queen? I can't remember. I'll have a look in a bit. If Dave comes on, I'll ask him to look. They're quite high. I think they're just outside the top 3. Yeah, so classic album next week is White Stripes and the album Elephant, which is a pretty cool album. Tuesday, album ranking. We've got an obscure band, again, album work done by Mark Wilkinson, and it's a band called Highland Glory. They are a Norwegian power metal band. So if you like your power metal, that's one for you. Retro ranking next week is a little bit different. We did Wings this week, which is another pop in my popular views this week. We're going to look at the non-album songs of Wings, part 4 of the Paul McCartney story, because there's so many great songs that weren't on albums. Wednesday Marathon next week is a viewer's request. We are doing the Mighty Rolling Stones, all 23 albums, ranking. Thursday, then and now, will be Queensrÿche, progressive rock metal type band. Been through all sorts of... you've made it. Dave, can you check on the Wings as well, please, Mr. Stat? We've got to come up with because you can't be Stato, because that was on some other program. Anyone got a nickname for Dave, who's the stats man? Let's give him a proper nickname. Where were we? Yeah, album artwork next week is progressive metal band Symphony X, just like this week's Nightwish. They make some wonderful album covers. And then live ranking on Friday next week is U2. Now, they haven't done many official live albums, so I've got a few of their other albums. So there's about 6 or 7, and one honourable mention. And then one off album next week, a band called the Orchestra. Now, if you're into your ELO, this band is what was left of ELO Part 2 after Bev Bevan left. They couldn't use the name ELO, so they carried on as the Orchestra. So that's all for next week. So this gig I went to on Saturday night, I went to see John Coughlin's Quo in a pub that I hadn't been in for 20 years in Northampton called the Black Prince. It used to be called the Racehorse. It's still the same amount of weirdos in there. Doesn't change. So I went to see John Coughlin's Quo. Now the band is got Mick Hughes on guitar, Rick Chase on bass and vocals, Pete Mace guitar, and of course Mr. John Coughlin on the drums. They opened up with Junior's Wailing, terrific song if you're a big Quo fan. Used to start all the old Quo shows off. Then we had a bit of Something About Your Baby I Like, In My Chair, and Pictures of Matchstick Men, all brilliant. And then because poor old John, he's now 75, and he's got arthritis in his fingers, you can tell. They're sort of like that. So what they did, they brought on a guy called Russ Chad, who's touring with them, to do the drums. John went on to the bongos, and the support act, Fee Shannon, a young lady singing brilliant. And they come on and did some sort of semi-acoustic stuff. And they opened up with Down the Dust Pipe, which was absolutely brilliant, semi-acoustic, even a harmonica. You got the drummer, he was doing like this, just brilliant. Then they did an acoustic sort of version of Railroad. Then we did Most of the Time, which was brilliant. Then we had a bit of Spinning Wheel Blues, which was just bluesy, absolutely brilliant. And then one of the best songs of the night, a song that was on Pile Driver, A Year. It was superb. I've never heard them do that live. And it was just absolutely brilliant. Then we had another track I'd never heard done live, Lucky Lady. A great track. Then we ended up with Gert and Dula. And then John went and had a rest. He had a little rest. So Russ Chad got behind the drums, and they went into some belting rockers. We had Paper Plane, Roll Over Laid Down, Caroline, I Saw the Light, Little Lady. Then we had Rockers Rolling, which was brilliant. Big Fat Mama and Don't Waste My Time. John come back out, and we went into April, Spring, Summer on Wednesdays. And then a brilliant version of Don't Drive My Car. I've heard that the people I've seen do with Quo, the drummers. And they've heard the best drummer do it. Then we had Bye Bye Johnny and a bit of Down Down. Then we had an encore. And they played my favourite Quo track ever. Well, one of them. Rocking All Over the World. But this guy got up on stage. There was no piano. And I'll tell you what, it's the best version I've ever heard of it. So that was the gig. Very, very, very good, entertaining gig. Oh, your car alarm went off. Oops. Yeah, I did Lee put a picture up on Facebook of Phil and Peter. I think people forget about that they're actually still mates and have been mates for a very long time. So that was lovely. It was lovely. What way to go out. Oh, good evening, Gaz. Yes, I ended up, I got home, went to bed, and I ended up with a sore tongue. I've been poorly, but I've still been doing this. I'm glad you're on, Gaz. I've started listening to the Pat Benatar albums. I listened to her first album today. It's brilliant. Okay, I've got some quotes of the week for you. Now, this is a young chap who really gets his knickers in a twist when I put something up. He's commenting on the Queen show. This is what he said. I won't put out the Claws of Doom. Yeah, he's there. He's what he doesn't know that we got that there. He's had one, but if he wants another one, you can have it. But he knows it's there. Yeah, going back to this guy, he put A Night at the Opera is the best, just simple. No way is Flash better than Hot Space either. It's 19% made up of sound bites. Yeah, this is a soundtrack, fella. You know, they're short little pieces. They're not called sound bites. So that was wrong. And also, No Way Made in Heaven is better than the works. It's full of ballads and isn't even a proper album. Yeah, it's a proper album, fella. Then he says the works has four Queen classics on. 4? I know there were 4 singles on, but I wouldn't call them classics. So this was my reply. I put, fella, you really get yourself into a twist, don't you? I said, I've been a fan of Queen since the age of 8. I'm now 56. There are certain albums that I'm not a fan of. You have your favourites. I have mine. So neither of us are wrong. It just depends what age you became a Queen fan, and what were your first albums. So I'm sure everyone agrees with me on that one. You know, he got his because he didn't because I didn't put Night of the Opera #1. As I said last week, I love the album, but I prefer Sheer Heart Attack any day. Now, my favourite one of the week. This goes back to when we did Spark, so it's quite a long time ago. He said, lots of mistakes here. How can you do mistakes on rankings? The most glaring being the position of Sparks' masters. Well, he put Speak, so he can't spell. Sparks' masterpiece, Little Beethoven. So I put, we all hear things differently. So technically, there are no mistakes. Just because Little Beethoven was critically recognised as a masterpiece doesn't mean I have to rank it where I did. I prefer other albums. That's the power of rock and roll. So that's all my bits of the script. Now I'm going off thing. Things I've... Yeah, I'll try to agree. Can't agree with you, Mick. I thought I'd just put them on and tell you about them because they are so funny. Now this one, that one with that Queen, he looks a young lad. I've got no problem with that. I think great to have all Queen, but he really gets his knickers in the twist. He needs to take a big chill pill and just appreciate music. Yeah, so listen this week. I've finished listening to Doris Brendel this week. Finished listening to Cream. Halfway through Eric Clapton's solo stuff. Anyway, Dave, did you find out who's winning? We all know it's Slow Hand. When I last looked, but I've not been looking this week, to be quite honest. So we've started listening to Pat Benatar, and someone's asked this week for Shakespeare's Sister full album ranking, so we'll be starting listening to that. This week behind us, we've had a bit of a mixed bag of albums. We've got, of course, Ian Gillan's Mr. Universe, ZZ Top's first album, No Remorse. Now that is leather. That is the leather version, a limited edition leather version, which is worth a few quid. Bit of Gary Moore this week. And as Phil played his last concert with Genesis, I thought I'd put up face value. I know it's not a Genesis album, but it's Phil, and it's all about Phil. And Seventh Star Black Sabbath album that people don't like, but I do. I think next week I'm going to put up some 12-inch single covers. And I mean some real weird stuff that I collected as a young lad. Oh, that's better. Oh, I did miss that one. And this week we've had two deaths in music this week. Over the weekend, we lost Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters. And in the last 24 hours, we lost a guy, and I can't think of his name. So I do apologise, but he was in the Wanted. He sadly died in his 30s, which is very sad. Yeah, they flew back to America, Dave. I did know that. So I wonder if they'll get a new drummer and start touring again. And then all the fans will go, this isn't the Foo Fighters. You know what they're like. You can't be the Foo Fighters without Taylor Hawkins. Well, yeah, you carry on. I can't see Dave Grohl. Unless Dave Grohl goes back behind the drums and they get a singer and do a Genesis and do the opposite. Luckily, when you had two drummers, Tom Parker, that was it. Brain cancer. Thank you, Dave. Mastermind Dave. I think that'll stick now, Mastermind Dave. Yeah, so who's had snow today? We've had snow. I went up with Lee today. We went shopping, as you do. When it went in, it was sunshine. We come back and then we had to scrape snow off the car. Which was quite good. Oh, mister, stop gnawing your thing. 90 years ago. Good grief. Yeah, I was doing Warrant this morning and I looked out the window and it was snowing like Billy-O. Let's give him that to stop him gnawing his toes off. He's due a clip, I think. Yeah, so what was did you have snow, Alan? We had hailstorms. We had hail today as well. It was quite funny because when it was hailing, Rocky decided he wanted to go out and he literally, it was quite funny. He literally turned himself round and then his bum out and had a wee. It was ever so funny. He's not daft, is he? Yes, it was hailing here as well. We've had hail, wind, rain and snow. I've got fond memories of Abu Dhabi. This is a funny one. We stopped over when we went to Sri Lanka. That's our stopover from. You know the carousels? No word of a lie. On the carousel was a fridge freezer, a washing machine. It was like being on the conveyor belt at on the Generation game. It was just full of household. It was just household goods coming around the carousel, not suitcases. Yeah, it was very cold here last night. I think at the moment, according to the computer, it's 2 degrees here, but it's certainly not 2 degrees in this flat. It's quite warm. I haven't got the heating on, but it's still quite warm. Oh. Yeah, so I've been also listening to this week. We've been listening to lots of ELO live, so you know what's coming up. Sorted out how I'm going to do Rick Wakeman. Going to do it by the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If Eric wins the poll, we're not going to do the whole of the Yardbirds because he's only appeared on a couple. So I think one of them's a live album. It's like the Blues Breakers. But I will do separate album rankings for the Yardbirds, do the full album ranking and the Blues Breakers at some stage. I don't see the point of not involved because Eric's not involved, not doing. I know we've done it in the past with Deep Purple and so, but then the trouble is I love Deep Purple and I couldn't just do the Gillan stuff. I had to do the lot. That's how I'm going to do it. The Rick Wakeman will come, but it's going to take a lot of time because I've got about 40 odd albums to listen to because I've only got about 7. So it will come up. So don't fret if people, oh, he has forgotten. I haven't forgotten. It's just that it's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a bigger challenge than Hawkwind, I think. No, I've not seen it live. I've seen it on telly. There's a program on Rick Wakeman, and it showed a clip of it. I don't know how he got away with that. There's a book he's done about being a grumpy old man. Now I've got the audio book of that, and it's hilarious. I mean, I think he's great. He needs to come up with a story of how that show actually got on ice. He pulled a few stunts to do that. He really did. You know, I'd have loved to have seen it, King Arthur on Ice. I mean, I love the album. I love that album. That and Henry VIII and the Six Wives thing like that. They're apart from the Journey to the Centre of the Earth is good, and I love The Return. So does Dave. First time I heard that was actually in Dave's car. I mean, the narrator's Patrick Stewart, so Ozzy Osbourne's on that one. That's pretty. It's a pretty good album. And I've also got they did a remix, a re-recorded version of the Journey to the Centre of the Earth. Version 2, I don't know. I know you've got that one, the CD. You've met Rick. Oh, you're a hero. I love Rick Wakeman. He's a proper grumpy old man, and unfortunately, I feels like I'm turning into one sometimes. I know on Saturday night, me, Lee, and Gary was having a whinge about things. We won't go into what we was whinging about, but it was. I thought, God, we're sitting here like three old grumpy old men. Richard Burton, was it Richard Burton? Blimey. I know Patrick Stewart did one of them. I can't imagine John Anderson being boring. But no, I know he when you look at some of the Yes concerts, he does waffle on a bit, doesn't he? Great voice, though. Amazing voice. Now, I started listening to John and Vangelis again this week as well. That's great. One of my favourite songs is by them. Hello. His Nibs is leaving us. And I've shut the door so he'll moan. One moment, folks. There you go. Sorry about that. I shut the door or he just started barking. Has anyone else met any rock stars? Alan White when you talk to your missus. Oh dear. I've met Noddy Holder. That was good. I've met Mick Box from Uriah Heep. I've met Neil Murray, Whitesnake and Everybody. I've met Mark Stanway, Mickey Barker, ex-Magnum. I know what he's barking at. He just wants more treats and he isn't getting any. Met Mark Stanway's missus, who used to be in Magnum as a backing singer. And I've met, what's his name? Phil Archer, played in UFO and Grand Slam. Met them at the stables. Pretty good. Oh, God, you have going through it tonight, Dave. Wow. Yeah, I'm just thinking who else have I met in the music world. Todd Rugin. Oh, I've met Fish, of course. Yes, met Fish. He was good. I've met John Coghlan, not at this gig. I met him outside the Posh Hotel in Oxford. That was an interesting meeting. Oh, what else have I've met? I'm just trying to think. Spike from Choir Boys. Really nice guy. I've met Tommy Vance. That was cool. Mick Wall, the music journalist. They're the rock stars that I've met. I've seen some pop stars. Oh, who else? I've met Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody when they played in my local pub back in many years ago. The landlord, I think I've mentioned this before, but the landlord was leaving and he put on a band, and I think it was Jason Bonham, Mickey Moody, and Bernie Marsden and some others. But it was a great night. They just basically did a load of White Snake stuff, bit of Purple, bit of Rainbow, bit of everything really. Cleo and Johnny at the Stables. Oh, I've met Bev Bevan, of course. How can I forget that? John Entwistle. What a bass player. I thought he was one of the greatest bass players this country has ever produced. Oh, no, I've never met them. That's a funny old place to go. The Stables in Milton Keynes. You come off a dual carriageway and you go down this like country track for miles, and then all of a sudden it's there. Oh, Chris Squire. What a hero. What a hero, Chris Squire. Oh, I've met Bob Catley from Magnum as well, because I was at the bar. This was in Milton Keynes at the Woughton Centre. I turned around like that with 2 pints, like that. I went, boom. Oh, sorry, mate. And then I realised it was Bob Catley. And he went, sorry. I said, sorry. He said, don't worry about it. Now, was it me or was my camera gone all steamy? Because have I gone blurry? Can someone just say, is it blurry? Because I'm looking at me and it's gone all blurry. Slightly. Okay, right. I'm going to just give it a wipe. See if that makes any difference. Oh dear. There we go. That's better. Put it down a bit. That's it. How do I correct autofocus? I can't. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that one, I'm afraid. Oh dear. Yeah, this is not going to be as long as last week's, folks, because I don't think my throat's going to hold out for 2 hours. No, swinging on the bedpost? I don't think so. I'm doing myself a mischief. Yeah, I've got plenty going on. I've still got to come up with what we're doing. Stones won't take me 4 hours. I bet I can do it in an hour, just over an hour, I reckon. No, definitely about an hour. Because there's some albums I won't talk much about. It's going to be an interesting one. That'll be controversial. Especially what I've got at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know if Bryan Adams is going to be controversial. No one's put anything controversial yet. I think I went with the flow with that one though. I put one of the popular albums is my favourite album because I brought it at the time. It's one of my favourite albums of the 80s. So has anyone got any gigs lined up? I haven't got nothing lined up now. Well, I have. One that was postponed. I'm going to see a tribute band to Queen. That should be interesting. I won't get all the hits. It'll be like the greatest hits. I'd love to see a Queen tribute band that does all the deep cut tracks that I love. Probably the Radio Gagas and all that. No, bring back Leroy Brown though, or anything off the album that's sound bites, soundtrack. Yeah, I've been listening to some soundtracks as well this week. Music I've listened to. Listen to Bryan Adams one he did, the musical Pretty Woman. As I said if you haven't watched it, I said that I hadn't included it in the rankings because I was going to do it separate. I've had a listen to it this week. It's all right. That's all I'll say on that one. But I've listened to the Commitments albums. That was a lot of fun listening to them again. Blues Brothers, both albums, because there's some great soundtracks on them. Listened to Tommy this week. I've listened to Quadrophenia. One of them 2 albums is coming up very, very, very shortly. In fact, I think it's coming up in the next week or so. Yes. One of them 2 albums will be on the week commencing the 11th of April. I won't tell you which one it is, but we'll have a classic album. It's actually a Who album. And that week, of course, is Easter Stinker Covers, which thing. If you're still here, Mick, I'm glad you enjoyed the album Stinkers. And what was his name? I can't remember his name. Elmon Bunga or something. Yeah, I've actually now put them in order. Sat and did that the other afternoon while listening to Tommy. See, the thing is with this new my new broadband that's super quick, everything's done by 2 o'clock. So I can sit around the floor, do some research for the next few shows, which I've been doing because I've finally listened to the Sweet albums. Well, the first part, I've listened to the classic Sweet albums. I've still got to listen to Andy Scott's Sweet, which will come up later. But again, I found that there are songs that I couldn't talk about in the Sweet thing that's not on the album. So we'll have... Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't. It's in there. I talked about it because I love the statues either side of that bit. It's on there. Trust me. Was you shocked at my number one? An album that I don't own, but I love the cover. Let's have a look. I've got my notes still here. I think I've got them here still. No, it's not on that one. Life is just pieces of paper. It must be here somewhere because I was looking at it earlier. Is there something on the back? But I'm sure I did mention the End of Era. I think it's in the middle. Is it on the back of U2s? No. I must file these properly. Right. Oh, blimey. Oh, the wings. Well, there's one I've... Hang on, is it into that lot? Here we go. Nightwish covers. Here we go. End of Era's number 9, Dave. Yeah, number 9 is End of an Era. You don't have to watch it, you just flick through, because that's why I put the numbers up so people can go back and check. Right, I'm getting my throat's starting to get sore, so I think this week I'm going to end it very shortly. Because I don't want to overstretch the voice. Like all good singers. That's it. You're watching an album art show and you're listening to it. But you know the covers anyway, don't you? So, yeah, right, folks. I know it's not as long as it was last week, but my throat's really starting to tickle now. So I'm going to call it a night tonight because I'm not... It's starting to feel sore. Okay, so I'm going to say good night, folks. I'll be back tomorrow, though. We've got Asia live tomorrow. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've got Asia live tomorrow night. I'm not tomorrow morning. I'm not doing all 48. There's about 9 or 10 of my own collection. And then we got a new album review tomorrow. It's Ghosts Impera, which is pretty good. One of the best albums of the year so far. So thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll be fully fit for next week's, the last one before Easter. Yeah, thanks, mate. I should be fine by next week. I mean, before I do go, if you've watched some of the videos this week, there's lots of winces and slurring and sounded a bit like Jonathan Ross in places because I couldn't say W on and S's. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot better now. I feel much myself. Okay, folks, thanks for watching. Good night, all, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.